Now it's time to create the last part of our lower arm armor. It's gonna be the armor that's gonna be on top of the biggest one. It's gonna be smaller than the last one that we did, but it's gonna be the same process. Let's go ahead and create another plane. And let's go ahead and rotate that 90 degrees. And let's go ahead and scale that down. Move it up. So I'm just gonna be using this as a reference. Yeah, that's about it. Something like that would be good. And I'm just gonna move it up. So we're gonna start out with this here. Gonna move it somewhere in the middle here. Hit the tab key and select the vertices here on the right, and just gonna move that. This is gonna be smaller than this one for sure. And I'm gonna move this here. I'm gonna go and extrude this one out and move this up. Move this down a bit, and then extrude this one. Extrude, rotate, and then extrude, and extrude, rotate. Actually, let me just go to vertex and move this here, and then extrude this out and rotate. And I want to make this sharper, something like that, and could add another edge loop here, a little too thick. Okay, I think I could move this up a bit and this up a bit. And of course, this still has to be somewhat round. So move that up. I think I could move it down a tad bit. And here, and this could be moved a little bit here. All right, and of course we have to select the vertex here, Shift S, cursor to selected, and let's go set origin to 3D cursor, and so that way we are able to add mirror with no issue. And of course merge, let's set this to 1. And I'm gonna apply that, and I'm gonna double check what I have here. Yep, it's all good in the middle. I think I wanna kind of move this down. There you go. Alright, now I'm gonna go select the edges and the inner part right here and press E. And using the move it back. Okay. And press E again, right click, and scale bit. Okay, so after that we could begin filling up the hole here, because we don't really want any of that showing. So I am on my front view as I'm doing this, that way we could keep the surface flat. So I'm gonna select the edge here and extrude that. Could go ahead and weld this at the center. Okay. And extrude this one. Press E, shoot that out, fix this, and bridge that. Move this up. Okay, probably going to have to do something about this here. Okay, so I'm gonna select the edges here and going to extrude. Well, these at the center. Okay, now what I want to do is I want to add extra edge loop. So I could add one right here and another one right here. That way I could select this and connect, bridge those. And I could select these and kind of scale it. Then Shift Z. So I'm selecting every part of the vertices here. And also this one. Scale. And kind of move it. Something like that. Then could bridge these to this, and then if I press and I'm gonna add one here and I one right there, and then just gonna bridge all around. Okay, so we got that going. Now we just have to delete the faces on here. Delete the faces, and we could go and mirror it on the other side. Okay, and we do have like a big gap there. I'm gonna remove that mirror for now. I am gonna go hit the tab key, go to vertex, select the vertices here. I think it's too much of a big gap. I think having to merge it is gonna be an issue. So I'm just gonna scale it in the X direction there. All right, and also gonna try to move it a little bit more in the middle. Okay, and now let's add the mirror modifier and merge. I could set it to 0.1. So I set it to 0.1 there, and looking like we still have a little issue. There's a little problem there. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the mirror. Okay, so I'm gonna make sure that if I select this here, Shift S and cursor to selected, and I'm gonna go here, set origin to 3D cursor. Okay, and I'm gonna go add a mirror. Okay, this time I wanna crank up the merge. Let's go try one. Let's see. Okay, that actually worked. I think one will do. And I'm gonna hit apply, and of course I wanna always double check. Make sure that everything's welded in the middle, which is great. Alright, now next up, I want to go and select the edges all around here, on the outer edge, and press E, right click, and then just move it out. Okay, and scale it up a tad bit. I want to go to my front here, and from here it looks like I could move it down. Okay, so maybe for this one, yeah, I think that will work. So I want to keep it consistent with the frame here. Let me see. Yeah, that's about it. And I want to look at the thickness. I think for the thickness, you Could be a little bit thicker, so I'll move that out. Let me see again. Yeah, I think that'd be fine. It should be fine. Maybe it's a little too thick, so something like that. Because remember, this is a little smaller, so we don't want it to be that thick. Okay, now next up is we need to, make sure that we don't have any hollow part here. So select this here, Shift S, and cursor to selected, and let's go origin to 3D cursor, and let's add a mirror. Of course, change that axis to Z. There you go. And merge, we could set it to 1. And let's hit apply, hit a tab key, and we could double check, make sure that this is also welded. Good. Alright, now of course, you can get rid of some of the geometry here because it's not going to be detailed. Dissolve the edges. Dissolve the edges. Okay, great. And let's see here. Good. Select these here. Yeah, even select that one. It's dissolve the edges. So now all we have left is this piece here, faces there. So I'm gonna go to vertex and select the vertices here, and just gonna move it like that. Okay, great. We could even go to faces and select the faces here. Make sure it's only at the back that's selected. You go to scale and scale in the Z direction to further flatten. There you go. Okay, great. Now we could add extra supporting loops so that the edges are not going to melt down. And also here and here. And where else? Oh yeah, this one and this one here. And also, let's not forget adding edge loop here. And I think in the middle, we want to keep this sharp, okay? We're gonna delete this other side, but we want to go add another edge loop right here, and right here, and let's not forget here. All right, and I want to check first subdivision surface. Okay, that's perfect on this side. I'm going to remove that. Shift Z and go to faces and remove the faces here. Delete the faces. And let's go to our vertex. Actually, edge. You can select one of the edge here. Actually, yeah, we need to do that because the move tool has to be here because we're going to add the mirror modifier again. So select the edge. I want to make sure it's actually the one right in the middle, which is going to be this here. And Shift S and cursor to selected. And once again, set the origin to 3D cursor. And let's add a mirror. And I'm going to set this to 0.3. Okay. And if I apply this and want to check the middle part, make sure everything is welded. So I'm gonna click once and just nudge it. Hey, everything. I think that should be welded. Click once here. Yep, good. Alright, and now we could add a subdivision surface all around, and I'm gonna set it to 2, the levels viewport. And while we're here, we could shade smooth. Now we need to bend this, right? Okay, now before we bend it, we need to apply the subdivision. So we got enough vertices to work with, and so it will be a smooth bend. Now before we start adding a simple deform and bending this thing. We could add the details on this armor, like what you see here. See how there's like some eyes, some shape of maybe the fangs here, maybe a little bit of shape of the, something that shows like on the side, like probably the shape of the cheeks. But yeah, our armor here is gonna have like a face. Yeah. So before we even bend this, we have to do that. All right. And before we add the face, looking at this, I think we need some more space here for the face, and I think we need to make this a little longer. So if you go hit the tab key and you have already a lot of vertices here, an easy way to modify this, if you want to make it longer and without having to select all these vertices, you could just select the vertices at the bottom, right? And then you're going to see the proportional editing. Just turn that on and press G on your keyboard. You bring it down, and then you could scroll your mouse to make the proportional editing bigger. So that will allow you to affect the vertices surrounding the vertices selected. So as you move it, some parts around the area of those vertices will also be moving. So we can just move it down. Actually, I want to make it larger. Okay, I want to move it down again. All right, so we have a little bit more shape and longer, and gonna elongate it a bit more. There you go. I think this is long enough. Should be fine. Okay, now it's time to add our face there. The way we're gonna do this is I'm going to just hit the tab key and go to face and select one of the faces here and duplicate that. Shift D to make a copy. Press P as in Paula and separate by selection. Hit the tab key, and so you see here we have a separate mesh that we could work with, that we could start with. Okay, and we could hit the tab key, go to vertex. We could shape this out. Make sure you turn off proportional editing. Okay, I'm gonna go and move this here. So we want like a triangular kind of shape going for this. And here, and here, here. And then extrude this out. And I could go to vertex and scale the vertex in the X direction. A little bit something like this. Straighten it out. And straighten this out also. And I think I could move this here. Select this and move this. There you go. And I'm going to select this and scale. There you go. Now, what we could do is we could select one of the vertices in the middle, Shift S, and cursor to selected. Hit the tab key and let's go. Set the origin to 3D cursor. That way, when we add a mirror, we're able to do it right in the middle. And going to crank up the merge, so it will merge in the middle, 0.4 or 0.3. Okay, so that will be fine. And I could adjust it a bit further, maybe it like this way. Now's the time, good time to adjust this before we collapse it. Alright, something like that. And once I'm done, hit the tab key and I'm just gonna apply. Okay, now what we can do is select this and this and just bridge these edges. And I'm gonna go select the faces here and move it out. There you go. And I could bevel this. Okay. Okay. Bevel it like that. Actually, before we bevel it, let me undo that. I want to kind of bring this out, the edge, so then the middle is not so flat. So maybe something like this. I want to go look from this view. I'm gonna go and select all these and kind of move it so I could see from the side what's going on. Okay, so from the side view. Okay, so for this, maybe I could select the vertex here and kind of move it back. Something like that. And looking from the bottom, yeah, I think that's fine. I could further select this and move it forward. Okay, now I could select all these. I think I could do a little bevel. Selecting the edges and then just bevel the edges. Something like that. Okay, and I could go ahead and add an edge loop here, some supporting edges right here. Now, if we go ahead and add a subdivision surface, you see how it kind of melts down, right? So we don't want it to melt down, so we want to add like some supporting edges around this area also. So this is going to be a little tricky. The way we're going to do this is we could just use, because we Control R and we try to use this and try to create an edge. It doesn't go all the way through, all right, because we want it all around. So I guess what we could do is we could Control R and add one right here. And if we add one, try to add one right here on the side, you see how it doesn't really work. And zooming in, it looks like it's kind of cutting off the face. So this is when I have to go to my view again and adjust the clip length so I could see more of the polygon when I zoom in. And for this, I'm going to use my knife tool and I'm going to just go ahead and make a cut from here to here. Press enter. And from here on to here and press enter. And for this, I could go from here on here, press enter, and from here onto here. So that will keep the edges tight together, having those extra edge loop. And we could just mirror it on the other side, but before we mirror it, I want to check how it looks when I add a subdivision surface. Okay, so this is actually perfect. I'm going to remove that because we gotta mirror this. So we can just go ahead and select the faces here, delete that, faces. All right, delete the faces, and then make sure that it's in the middle of the grid. I think it is in the middle of the grid, the cursor, so we could just go add a mirror. There you go. And I like to set the merge to a higher value. Oh, I think that's too much. So I'm gonna set it to 0.04. There you go. And yeah, I think that should be fine. And I'm gonna go apply that. All right, great. Perfect. And we add the subdivision surface as nice and clean geometry that we have. And we could go ahead and scale this up and then move it maybe here. Closer. What we could also do is make this a little thicker. There you go. There you go. That's more noticeable. And then bring it back. Great. And this could be mirrored on the other side. But as you can see here, if we select this, you see the move tool is not in the middle of the grid. So let's go ahead and Shift S, cursor to world origin. And then let's go to set origin to 3D cursor. And let's go add a mirror. So now it's in the middle, exactly what we need. Okay, now let's go and create, we actually have to make one also for the nose. We're just gonna make a duplicate of this. So I'm gonna hit the tab key and select all these, Shift D. I'm gonna move it down. And for this one here, gonna press P and separate by selection. Okay, so we have this here, separate piece, but we only need one of them. So we could just remove our mirror. So this is all we have here. And I'm gonna set the origin for this one to the geometry, and then just gonna move it in the middle. And just gonna bring this up. Great. Okay, and next thing that we have to do is we could create like the teeth part for this. So that'll be great. Creating the teeth. I think I need to move this up a tad bit. Hit the tab key, and I'm gonna go select the faces here. I'm just gonna move it up, something like that. And this one could go up too. That way we have more space for the teeth area. I think it could be going up a little bit more also, a tad bit more, something like that. And then this goes up. That way we definitely have way more space for the teeth. Okay, great. All right, so for the teeth area, it's just gonna be the same process. We could create a copy of what we have here. Shift D to make a copy of this. Press P and separate by selection. And there's our polygon that we can work with. Okay, now go and kind of move this around. It's gonna be for our teeth area right here. And we can select our edge right here and extrude that out. And extrude again, and then scale it. There you go. And I'm gonna move this and further adjust so we could gonna round things out. And it's a little too round. I mean, something like this. There you go. So we got this right here. Rotate it, something like this, and scale. Yeah, I think it's quite big, something like that. Okay. All right, and of course it's too thin. We definitely gotta add some more shape to this. So what we could do is we could select our faces. We could extrude that out, something like that. And we could add an edge here. And for this, we could kind of bring this out. There you go. And then move this down. So we got a nice little shape there. Okay. And this is also going to, this right here needs to be mirrored. And we have to add our subdivision surface, but before we add the subdivision surface, we could add some more edge loops. There you go. And there you go. And we could add a subdivision surface. All right. It could be a little bit wider, I think. So good, gonna make this like this. There you go. Right. Now, another thing that we could do is we could add a little bit more, some kind of teeth thing going here. I'm gonna select faces here. I think this will be a good one. And make a copy and separate that. And so that we have this here. And I'm going to delete, dissolve the edges. Dissolve edge. Actually, we could just dissolve all these edges. It's best to work with low poly in the beginning so you could like better shape it out and just add more as you go. Okay. And we could add one right here and add one right about here, and then add one right here. And then we could extrude this one out and then scale it a little bit. Oh, you just dab it, there you go. And then another one right here, and scale. Bring this here, so we have a tooth right there. Then we could select this edge and extrude that one right here. There you go. And add one right here. Go. Okay, and we could further round this out. Like this. Round that out, and this one could be down here a bit, so we get a little curve going. Okay, so we could see how it looks with mirror. And move this. I think I'm gonna remove the mirror. I think it's not really exactly in the middle, so I'm gonna Shift S and pressure to selected, and I'm gonna go set origin to 3D cursor, and then add mirror. There you go. And I'm gonna set the merge to 0.3 and hit the tab key. Okay. Yeah, I think that's actually pretty good. It's actually pretty good. And we could mirror this on the other side, because we need one of these right below also. So we could just mirror this right below. But before that, what we need to do, I'm gonna delete the mirror. And we need to add thickness to this, alright? So selecting the faces, and let's go ahead and extrude that out. Extrude. Alright. And okay, let me see this. I'm gonna isolate this here. Gonna see what's going on. Alright, I don't really need the faces here at the back, so I could just delete these. It's just not gonna show. And I also want to double check this one. I don't really need the faces at the back for this one also. So could just select the faces here at the back. And I want to turn off subdivision. So select again the faces at the back. So making sure I'm not selecting the ones on the side and the front, and delete those faces. So we could save on polygons just by deleting the stuff that we don't really need. Okay, and I'm gonna unhide. Okay, and for this, I'm gonna add an edge loop right here, and then select this edge. Control Shift click here, and just gonna move that out, and then I'm gonna move this down, and I'm gonna add another one right here. Select this, and then just gonna move that out, and then from the bottom, move this down a bit. Alright, and I'm gonna add some edge loops right here to hold the shape of that. And also, we don't need the faces that are here because we're gonna mirror this. You see the thing in the middle? We need to remove that because we don't want faces on top of faces when we mirror this. And I'm gonna add one right here. and one right here, hold edge. And let's see how it looks like when I subdivide this thing. Okay, I think that will do. Okay, and I'm just gonna add a mirror first. Mirror. Alright. And subdivide. Okay, great. Good. Select this here and make sure it's kind of flat. Right here, touching surface, and same with this, we gotta move this back. Something like that. And I'm gonna select the faces here and just kind of move this. I'm gonna rotate a bit and move. Looks a little happy. That's okay. Now we could mirror this in this direction. And before we do that, I think we have to before we mirror this, we actually need to make sure that the move tool is like in the middle here. That way when we mirror it, it's going to end up being right here where it's supposed to go. So I'm going to select the geometry for the armor, maybe right about in the middle right here. Yep, and then Shift S, cursor to selected, and then we could select our polygon here. Set origin to 3D cursor. Oh, that's actually not gonna work there. We have to, we need to make sure that we do something with this here. Yeah, before anything, we added our subdivision and we added our mirror here, right? Okay. I'm gonna remove the subdivision because it looks like when I added the subdivision, I'm looking here, it's not fully welded. So it looks like I have to crank up the merge for the mirror. I'm gonna set this to 0.3. There you go. And add the subdivision again. There you go. And I'm just gonna go ahead and apply. And hit apply. Alright. Okay, now gonna go here, set origin to 3D cursor, and I'm gonna go add the mirror. And this time I'm gonna set it to Y. Only Y. There you go. So we got that going. And I think we could definitely certainly fix this here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply, and then I'm going to select the faces. I'm gonna select the faces here and make this a separate piece. Okay, great. Now we got this separate. And I hit the tab key. Alright, maybe what we could do is we could make this a little rounder. So I'm gonna go turn on proportional editing. And of course, gonna bring down the shape by scrolling. Okay, and that way we could kind of further shape this out. Even though it has a lot of vertices, we could make this look a little different from the one above. Alright. So we get a little bit more variety to the shape, which is nice. Okay. Okay. And maybe move this here. Adjust the shape. Make it larger. Go. Here you go. Then I actually want to make this a little bit thicker. And I like how I'm actually giving like a bit of asymmetrical form. Exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, the asymmetrical form. And what we're gonna do is we're actually going to add. Let's just scale this up a bit. I'm going to select the faces, and make this part a little wider. And what we're gonna do later on in the next video is we're actually gonna add, like later on we're gonna be adding like the actual spike here where it's sticking out. That's gonna be later on. And what we need to do is we need to add one last detail, which is another piece here on the face area, which is gonna be quite simple. Let's just select here and let's go select a face right here. And let's make a copy of that. And let's go and separate by selection. Select this here, the tab key. Okay, this is gonna be, make sure you turn off the partial editing. Okay, and there you go. Gonna extrude that out. And then extrude this one. There you go. And gonna move this here. There you go. Rotate a bit. Okay, I'm going to add this here and move this. And then move this here. There you go. So got this shape going, and I'm gonna scale it up a tad bit more. Okay, something like that. And maybe I can make this a little bit wider. Right, and then I'm gonna go select the faces and going to extrude that out. And what I also want to do is gonna isolate it. And as you can see, we have faces here at the back. Select the faces. You want to make sure that I'm not selecting the ones on the side. Just select those, and select that. So only the surfaces at the back. Double check and remove those faces. And unhide. Okay, so for this one, what I could just do is I'm gonna select the faces here and scale it like that. And then I'm going to add some edge loops right there and right here and right here, and also right here. Okay, I want to see how it looks like when I add a subdivision surface. Okay, I think it kind of melted down a little bit. I want to keep it sharp along the edges around here, so I'm gonna remove that. I want to add another edge loop right here, maybe right here, and maybe this here. Okay, let me see how that looks like. All right, yeah, something like that. It definitely held the shape together. Definitely what I'm looking for. Only thing is, I want to select the edges here, and I'm going to select the edges here at the bottom. Scale, and I want to scale in the Z direction. I'm just going to move it down. Move that up a bit. Up a bit. Okay, something like that. Right, and the subdivision surface is there. Let me see if I could have to increase it by 2. Okay, let me see. Okay, let me add a subdivision surface. There you go. Great. And I could mirror it on the other side. Alright, that's looking good. And I'm gonna look all around. Alright, so there's our face for our armor.